podcast filming day, and I thought I would start out at the barn today because why not? I know a lot of people love seeing the animals, so I thought I'd pop through real quick and just let you see how it's going. Everybody, I'm going to flip you guys, so beware. It's raining, so it's just wet. Say hi to Cash. And for those of you that don't know Cash, we got him from the shelter, and he has turned out to be the best dog. He actually guards the sheep the sheep and the chickens from the predator birds. So I should say the lambs he guards. So there's the boys happily eating. They've already had their pellets, and then they start screaming for more. So they have and they've been bad and been escaping from their, we'll say hi to the sign. And here's the crew out eating. Enjoy some of the morning noises. The birds are out because the rain's going away. You can see out there's some clearing. And Elsie's always with me, right ahead, making sure that things are as they should be. We'll come over, we'll see if anybody's in. Chickens are everywhere. The girls are standing out in the rain because they just had pellets. Cuttlebug. Hi, bud. June's finishing. She has to lick her entire bowl clean because otherwise Cuttlebug might get a drop of it. We're going to try to let him off without getting you guys sick, and we'll just go peek outside real quick. There's a big pile of poo that I'll clean up. That's part of the morning. The alpacas don't like to poop outside if it's raining, obviously. They're the girls. They just had their pellets. That's the crew for the morning. I didn't show you all the dogs, but I'll be back in just a minute and we'll talk wool and all the other things. Good morning. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Being Youthful podcast. I hope you guys like that I started it out with some animals. It never hurts to have animals at the beginning of the podcast, right? And I thought you might enjoy taking a quick jaunt around on this Monday, rainy Oregon morning to say hi to everybody. So I'm here at the mill now, and I am Kim Biegler. I'm the owner of Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, and the mill is located here in Halsey, Oregon, which is about halfway between Salem and Eugene. And then we have our animals at our home, which is in Harrisburg, the next town south of us. So welcome to the Being Youthful podcast. If you haven't joined us before, I hope you enjoy it and you want to start back at the first one. And if you have watched me before, thanks for coming back. If you know, on social media, I had a bit of a rough Friday trying to get the podcast up, and my Fiverr wasn't running well, and it was just like one of those days. So I didn't scream or throw anything. Don't worry, I don't throw things at people, but sometimes you just have to throw something, and it didn't get that bad. Instead, I ran home, changed into my exercise clothes, and put a lot of energy into that workout. And then I kind of took some downtime this weekend. So here we are back at the mill, and there are so many places you can find us. I'm going to try to put really good notes in the show notes. So go to them if you have questions about anything. But you can find us at youthfulfiberfarm.com. I am on Instagram at Being Youthful Podcast is the podcast one, and at Ewethful Fiber Mill. So both of those I try to post fairly regularly. On Facebook, we're at Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, and I also do some blogging at beingyouthful.com. So I'm all over the place. And on Ravelry, we do have a Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill group. So go there if you want to post things, or go anywhere. You can find me just about anywhere. So I hope you enjoyed that video. We did have, since my last podcast, we had one of our sheep get sick, and we, after a couple days of me trying some home stuff, that did not work. And so we had our vet prescribed us some antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, and that took care of business really quickly. So he is back out. He actually, I think, popped his head up to say hi. And that was my first sheep really to get sick since we've had our flock for I think 4 years or so. We treated it as if it was upper respiratory, which apparently they can get issues, especially this time of year in Oregon, because the weather literally drops. It can be 30 at night, but then it can be 55. There was one day where I think we were in the low 60s, and then it drops 30 some odd degrees, and that can be a little rough on the sheep sometimes. So we're not quite sure what it was, but he's back. So in the meantime, since our last podcast, I also went to lambing school. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because that was fun. It was also overwhelming and made me think, oh my God, how have I even kept my sheep alive for all these years? But so I went to a local farm called Ironwater Ranch. They're in Albany, Oregon. You can find them, and I will put a link to them in our show notes, but you can find them online. They run a lot of sheep, and they do fiber and commercial sheep as well. And they have quite a few. I think Zane said they have 8 breeds or so, and they have some amazing fleeces. So I went there for lambing school, I guess about a week and a half ago on a Saturday, and it was cold, but we all made it. So it wasn't rainy, which was nice. So they are actually in lambing season right now. And it was fun to see. No matter how many lambs you see being born, or it just is always fun. You forget kind of like how tiny and wonderful they are, and how the mama, just the whole process is pretty awesome. So I will always try to push buying American products and American wool, most certainly American wool, obviously for a reason. I've learned so much since I got into this industry, and I'll just throw a reminder out there. We bought our mill equipment in 2016, right? So this is coming up my 5th year. I haven't been doing this a long time, but I have just gotten so immersed in the community and the industry and fiber and wool, and I have learned so much, and most certainly have learned so much about why it's important to know where your wool is coming from. And I don't mean you have to know from the very animal, but just knowing that it's coming from this country, from what state even. I mean, if you're lucky, you can know what state it came from, or sometimes the animal. So it's so important because there are so many people doing the hard work to grow these fiber and commercial animals for sure. And so for today, I just want to talk about Ironwater a little bit and talk about their lambing season, because it really personifies the amount of work that goes into raising animals, taking care of animals at all, but raising them for your living, which is what Ironwater does. It's a multi-generational family. Kirsten is the mom, and several of her children, and I think even some soon-to-be children, work on the farm. And Zane is also another face you'll see. She's actually in the video that I have. So there's video of sheep and lambs and all sorts of fun stuff. And we talked to Zane for a few minutes. So they are lambing they generally run, just depending on how the season is going and everything, they run anywhere from 500 to 900 sheep at a time. That's a lot of sheep, guys. A lot of work. And they were lambing about, she said, anywhere from 90 to 200 is what will usually lamb during their lambing season. So they are in the thick of it right now. And the sheep, so they pulled their ewes in, and that is kind of where it starts. Well, it starts before that, as we all know, but they had pulled all of their ewes, their pregnant ewes, in because there are a lot of predators around here that like to take baby lambs. So they pull them in the barn to keep them safe. There's obviously coyotes. We don't so much, it depends where you are in Oregon for sure, whether you have cougars, mountain lions, and all that stuff. Right here, not so much, but right where I am, I should say. But coyotes, for sure. You can hear them singing at night with their babies right now. And bald eagles. Bald eagles are one of the more dangerous predators we have here for lambs, even for small dogs. So they will swoop down and take a baby lamb. And I think Kirsten said upwards of 40 pounds. They could pick up a 40-pound lamb, and I won't get into the detail, but I will tell you they are much less majestic when they are doing their natural eating work. So you do really have to be careful. If you have sheep that are lambing out in a pasture and a bald eagle gets wind of it and is hungry, that lamb could be in danger. So they bring all of their ewes in at breeding season, right? As they think they're about to pop, basically.
and they are watching them. So as soon as they start, there's signs that they are in the process of birthing. So as soon as they start to see those signs, they're watching them to make sure that things are going smoothly. Lots of the time, sheep do this on their own. But sometimes you do need to intervene, like humans. Things can happen that cause the lamb or the ewe problems. And so think of 90 to 200, any number of them. I think that on the day we were there, 2 or 3 had already lambed that day, one while we were in the class. And sheep can have generally anywhere from 1 upwards to 4. 2 to 3 is very normal, especially if they've been bred more than once. So once the mom goes into labor, they're watching them to make sure everything is going smoothly, and assuming that it does, they don't have to intervene. Once that lamb is out, then they basically move the lamb and mama follows. So they just pick up lamb and mama's like, where are you taking my lamb? And they put them in these small areas that are called jugs, and they're just smaller, pens basically. And mom and babies get their own, so that mom can have a space to clean the baby, to get the baby nursing, just to do all the things that moms need to do right in those crucial first few hours. And they're watching to make sure mom's doing all of that, to make sure that the baby is getting nursing, because there is stuff in the ewe's milk that in that first 24 hours that baby lambs need. And so you're making sure that the lambs are getting that, because again, otherwise you have to intervene. Or just making sure the lamb is healthy, that it's up, that it's moving, and just doing what it's supposed to be doing. They also, which was kind of funny, there was another there was another sheep there that she liked to steal other ewes' babies. So they had gone in the house before class and then come back out, and this new mom had just had one of her lambs, and this other sheep, that is an older sheep that has had many babies, decided that she was trying to take everybody's babies, basically. So it's something else they have to watch for. They're constantly, because that can cause all sorts of problems. Once that other ewe had started licking and cleaning that new baby, the other mom was like, well, this can't be mine, right? It doesn't smell like mine. So there's all sorts of issues. There's so much work that goes into it. And then as the animals are moved into the jugs, and then don't forget, there's still another 90 to 200 or however many that are lambing that are likely starting to also go into labor. And usually it depends. You can be in lambing season for a month, sometimes longer, depending just on when the animals did their thing, right? And then so they're watching any ewes going into labor, they're watching new mamas with their babies, they're moving babies, and then comes day maybe 2 or 3. If the lambs are healthy, they've got to start doing other things for the lambs, as far as vaccinating, doing tails. Maybe if they aren't going to breed them, they're going to ban the boys and make them wethers, so that then they're just fiber animals, depending on what they're doing. Vaccinating, ear tagging. So there's just so much work. And just think, like, you have 90 to 200 ewes. That means you could have upwards of 300-400 lambs that you are doing all of these steps to, and making sure, and new ones are coming, and you're trying to get them out into the next pen, because after they're a certain age and mama's bonded with them, then they kind of move them back into a bigger group so the lambs can run around and be together, and everybody can. And then this, of course, you start moving them back outside. So much work, you guys. And it's so fun. And it's like any business that you own, because of course all of us in this industry are still business owners first and foremost. No matter what the passion is, you're still a business owner. But man, doing that without having passion would be no fun at all. And I think that's why most people in a lot of these industries, and in farming in general, if you don't have a passion, man, it's a lot of work for something that you're not in love with. So it was such a fun day. I learned so much. Like, my head was exploding, literally. And I have so much more to learn and to read up on, and they are a great source also for reaching out to with questions. But so I am going to play. Actually, I'm going to talk about one more thing, because I came home that night and I got in my big new bathtub. If you've been watching on social media, sometimes I post about our endless farmhouse restoration, and a bathtub. We've been in it for 3 I can't even know, I think 3 years now. And part of the reason that I fell in love with this big, dilapidated, beautiful farmhouse was the master bathroom and the huge soaking tub in it, which of course was broken and we had to replace it. So that's been the winter project, is putting in a new soaking tub, which is not done and I'm already using it. But I got home from lambing school and I picked up this book that I've been meaning to read. It's called Raw Material, Working Wool in the West, and I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. It's by Stephanie Wilkes, and she, I know, is on Instagram. I will put her Instagram name there too. So this is the story of Stephanie basically leaving kind of more of the corporate world and starting into the shearing world after she learned to knit. Semi-familiar. And anyway, after going to lambing school all day and being around these people that are so passionate at Ironwater about what they do for a living and are making a living at it, and then I sat down and started reading this about Stephanie's her journey and sheep shearing and wool, and why we're having issues with U.S. wool, about it staying in our country, and about how you can actually get your hands on it. It just really ignited, it just inspired me again. We're always looking for places that inspire us, and between the two, it was a great day. So I will put a link to this. It's a really good read. I'm not very far into it, but it is really great. And I will always, like I said, push buy U.S. wool as much as you can. It is so much easier now. There's a lot of small farms. Sometimes you can find it in yarn shops. If you just ask, do you have any locally produced wool here? You can also just go on the internet and Google, farm yarns, local wool, local yarns, fiber mills, any of this, and you should be able to find something in the US for sure. And it is such lovely wool, and all of us that are in this industry appreciate it, and appreciate you for supporting us. So now let's see some lambs. I'm going to show you this lambing video, and this is with Zane, who is the daughter over at Ironwater Ranch, and a wealth of information, and there's lots of ewes talking and moving around in the background, and then I'll put lots of lamb pictures in here too. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Enjoy. Okay guys, I'm behind the screen today because I'm here at Ironwater Ranch, and I just came to do their lambing school because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and my sheep have done it well for me, but I want to be prepared for the day in case they don't do that. So I am here with Zane, and Zane, tell me a little bit about Ironwater, how your family farm started.
So Ironwater Ranch is a 3-generation ranch we're located in Albany, Oregon. We have 7 different breeds of sheep. We've had sheep since the 80s. It all started with Romney. We've done a lot of work in commercial and purebred animals. So we've done a ton of importation from New Zealand for our Romneys. So we specialize in wool, and we absolutely love all of the fiber that we can possibly get from our sheep. Ironwater Ranch is run with my mom, Kirsten Holbo, me, Zane, my boyfriend, Brandon Murphy, my sister-in-law, Kylie, and my brother, Kieran, and we all work together really hard to get this kind of do stuff. The breeds of sheep that we have Romneys, we have Merinos, we have Columbias, we have Cordills, we have BFLs, we have Jacobs, and we have natural colors, and we have Rommeldales. So we have 8, I forgot. So natural colors aren't technically one of our breeds, but they are what some of our breeds fit into for crossbred that we breed for wool. So we have a couple of Columbia Merino crosses that we have here just because they have really beautiful fiber. And today we did an awesome lambing school, and we are going to be doing this every single year now. We just started doing it this last year because we realized there's kind of this disconnect between agriculture, smaller farmers and commercial farmers who all have sheep, and we all think sheep are great, but we just haven't found that place to meet in the middle, and we're trying to kind of bridge that gap. So Ironwater Ranch is all about education and pushing limits and making stuff better for everyone. So we put on this lambing school, and we invite commercial producers, new producers, older producers that want to learn something new, kind of see how stuff's done differently, because a lot of lambing schools are based on commercial properties and where people run thousands of sheep, but it's not really quite accurate for those who only have like 5 or 6 that are going to be having lambs every year. And we've done this for a long time. I've done this my entire life. There's pictures of me riding on sheep when I was younger. I had my first ram, Merry Man, when I was 5, and he used to let me ride him, and I would sit on him when he ate at his feeder. So that's what we're trying to do here, and we were really happy with that participation we had, especially with how weird everything is right now. But I think it was really awesome, and I really love how the sheep community comes together for stuff.
Yeah, because reality, even in a time of COVID, all the farmers have to keep farming. Everybody's still working, so we have to figure out ways to just stay safe but still be able to learn from each other.
Exactly.
So you guys sell sheep. You also sell fleeces, because a lot of my people are hand spinners or potentially yarn makers in some form. So where can they find you to buy, if they're interested in sheep or in fleeces, because you guys obviously have a ton of pretty amazing fleeces also. So where can they find you? Where are places to get in touch?
They can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a Twitter account that we are not very good at using. We have a website, www.ironwater.com. You can Google us. We're one of the first things to pop up. I built our website. We have some fleeces available on there. We have yarn. We have Iron Water Ranch t-shirts.
Woohoo!
We also sell dryer balls and lunges, which is our pride and joy. They're wool sponges. They're biodegradable and 100% renewable, and we make them here ourselves. So we thought that was a really awesome turnaround, because people are trying to be more sustainable and recyclable and move stuff on, and it's the sheep wool that isn't exactly what you want for a hand spinner. So it's awesome. It's really dual purpose.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for today. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me afterwards. And that's all, I guess. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
I know, I'm a little bit worried on
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. And like I said, I'll put a link to Iron Water Ranch down in the bottom. They obviously sell sheep, but they also, for lots of people that don't want a sheep, or maybe you want one, but you can't have one, they sell a lot of raw fleeces, because they have, as Zane mentioned, some stunning fleeces, and they do run fine wool fleeces or fine wool sheep here too, as Zane said, and that takes a whole nother level of work, which we can talk about on another podcast. But if you're looking for raw wool, they have it. And you can also, a lot of times, I buy wool from them and process it out and sell it in my products. So there's another place. And I will definitely be in touch with them, as I told them when I was there. I will be back because I need more wool from you guys. So all that will be in the show notes. And now it's time to talk about knitting. So first off, finish object. So excited. So here it is. My 3-color cashmere cowl. I'll try to go all the way up, all the way back down. And I'm gonna try to put a picture. I think I've got pictures before I blocked it, because oh my gosh, the difference that blocking can make. If ever you were in doubt, this scarf is an amazing example. And blocking is basically after you finish knitting, weaving, crocheting, you soak it in a little bit of soapy, lukewarm water or cold water, whatever you prefer, and you just are cleaning. Well, you're cleaning it, because Lord knows I took this, half the time my bigger knitting projects, they can go on I've had my knitting in Hawaii, back east, on the plains, everywhere. So first off, it cleans it, and then it also allows you, once it's wet and you lay it flat to dry, you can kind of do some stretching on it. So basically what you're doing is you've been working the yarn in all these different directions, and after you wash it and lay it down flat to dry, you can kind of rework it, and you tell it, this is where I want you to stay. And it does. It's amazing. So 3-color cashmere cowl by Joji Locatelli. I will put that in the show notes. And this yarn I used is our Primeville base. So this is a wool mohair. and there's a little bit, you can kind of see there by my feet, there's a little bit of a poof to it, not a ton, but enough, and it added a little extra shine. And this purple, oh my gosh, and you can see the texture in there from the little pattern that was in there, is absolutely one of my favorites. So I used this purple, which I can't remember the name of. I think I call it something like off-white, and this is the light gray is what I used for it. I love it, I really do. And now if you are, and of course I got something on it, wouldn't you know? I don't know why I was wearing it and eating it with something, but if you are sensitive to itch, this may not be the yarn for you to wear around your neck. I am not that sensitive. I think I used to be, but honestly, I think for me it was more mental. I don't even know if I was aware of it, but if you can also use this yarn. Well, you can use this yarn for lots of stuff, like socks, which I have that one sock that I'm still working on, don't worry. So this is our Prineville base, and I did want to talk for a second about base as I try to kind of clarify some of the terms I use. So the base, when you're referring to, when I say it's our Prineville base, I named it Prineville because that's where most of the wool came from. When I'm talking about base, that means what the fiber actually is. So this is a wool mohair base. So it's what is making up the yarn. So this is a wool and mohair base. That's what the yarn is. This is a Shetland base. This is a Shetland alpaca base. So it's basically just what the fiber is that's making up your yarn is the base. I had somebody years ago, I was at a knit night and somebody asked me, what base is that? And I was like, it's yarn. I don't know. I had no idea. So I just wanted to clarify what the term base means. It basically just means what the fiber is that the yarn's made of. So there's my Prineville. I may not have a finished object for you guys for a little bit, but that's a biggie because this is basically, I could wear it as a skirt probably. It's enormous, but I love all the different textures and everything in it. So wonderful. Also, if you live somewhere warmer, probably not the jam for you because it is pretty hefty, but I'm cold always, so it works for me. Next, knitting. Pretty excited about this. So this is my wool alpaca. This is my Shetland alpaca that I hand spun, and I'll show it to you up close. And it was a white Shetland that I threw some light fawn alpaca into, one of my Shetlands, I should say. And I started that vest that last time I had not even swatched. I think I included a picture of the swatch, but here is the beginning of my vest. So this is the front. I don't know an easy way to hold this up, but that's my front. And you can see there's a nice little pattern just at the very front of it. And the rest of it is pretty basic. It's so soft, squishy, and amazing. And I am just like whipping through, having so much. This is whipping for me, by the way. I'm having so much fun knitting it. I'm gonna hold it up. I wish you could do this. I hope that gives you enough of a feel of it, but it is really stunning. And you'll be happy to know I have some of this fiber in the online store now for those hand spinners out there. So if you love this, you are in luck. And I also wanted to show you my stitch marker situation because she called for a stitch marker here after you do this little pattern, and she called for a stitch marker here after you get to a certain point in the sweater, but she did not call for a stitch marker here, which is fine for the average person, but I've learned I'm not the average person and I should have more stitch markers as we've discussed. And this was really just like knit 1 and then knit 3, and it's knit 1 along this. Nope, I'm not gonna try to remember anything anymore. So knit 1, and then start your little pattern to get here and then onward. Anyway, I love it. I'm making good progress. This is the Brookdale cardigan. I believe it is, let me make sure I get the name. I think it is Elizabeth Smith. Let me double check. Yes, Elizabeth Smith. And I will put the information down in the show notes. That's all I have, really. I'm working still on the hat that I showed you guys the last time. So wait, if you're watching, that hat has not fallen off the radar. And it's so close to being done. I just need to get my act together. So that's it for knitting. Spinning. Big fat failure in the spinning world for you guys this time, but I'll show you what I am doing. what I did finish, this is it. How sad is this? So this is just a mystery wool that was from our fiber club maybe last year at some point, and there was a little bit left and I couldn't help myself. So I'm gonna chain ply this up, and I'm hoping that I'll have a little video on me chain plying for the next podcast. So I have a little bit more spinning, but I don't know why. I just didn't get a lot of spinning in. It happens sometimes, right? And I'm also working on something really fun at home with some spinning, but yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love this so much. I have more of Oats fleece, which is who this is, and I was gonna sell some of it for you guys, but but don't worry, there is other Shetland alpaca up there, but I might need a full-size sweater out of that after all. So, spinning, sorry guys. Something else that exciting that happened over the past 2 weeks is that I went to Eugene Textile Center. I will put a link to it. We are lucky enough to have a really amazing textile center by us, and they do a lot of classes, and they are heavy weavers. So if you are a weaver and you do not know them anywhere in the country, they are online and sell stuff. My mom lives down in Southern California, and she orders a ton of her stuff from Eugene Textile Center. So anyway, I went over there about 2 weeks ago to buy some dyes. And one of the women I know there was there, and I was like, oh, what's that? Looking at this little loom, and I couldn't get that little loom out of my head. So I went back this weekend and I ordered myself, not a crazy size loom, but just a little loom that'll fit on my table that I can move around. And I'm going to start some weaving, it seems. I have not done weaving before, but we'll probably throw in a little segment on weaving here pretty soon. My mom loves to weave. Lots of people are weavers that I know. It's just not something I have done, but I am excited about the prospect of being able to use a lot of my yarns, because I end up with a lot of random yarns, and just to learn something new, because I don't know why, that's just what we do, right? So I'm really excited. I actually woke up the other morning, I was watching videos on how to warp it and do all this stuff, which is all foreign to me. I don't know, so I'm learning about it. And then I woke up in the morning on Sunday and was laying in bed thinking about, woo, what colors, where am I gonna, oh my gosh. So that'll be an exciting something coming. Okay, what's going on at the mill? So much Shetland is going on at the mill. That's what's going on at the mill. So I do have some videos for you guys, but I'm gonna talk a little bit because people really seem to enjoy hearing about breed stuff. So I'm gonna talk quickly about Shetland sheep because I have them, I love them. If you are a hand spinner, almost every hand spinner has spun Shetland, and it's just a solid go-to. It's a great wool to start learning to spin on, because it's got some toothiness to it, which means the fibers are gonna stick together a little bit better, which makes it easier when you're first learning to spin. So I'm gonna show you some locks. So I showed you Andy before. This is one of our, and this guy is a wether, which a wether is basically a male sheep that you castrated. And we did that because I wanted him as a fiber sheep. I actually bought him from another farm, and I think I talked about him in the last one, but that's what a wether is. So this is Andy's wool. He has absolutely stunning kind of oatmeal colored wool. It's a favorite, and I'm actually gonna process up soon. I probably will blend it with some alpaca, and it'll be up on the site hopefully within the week of this podcast. So keep an eye out on that. Another one of my favorites is Taraji, and I show her in the video later on the drying rack. So this is Taraji. Look at how different. So this is a double coated Shetland, single coated Shetland. Double coated, and she was shorn in 6 months. So generally, the average sheep you shear just once a year. I shear her twice a year because her fiber gets so long and it won't work as well in my processing equipment. So this is only 6 months worth of growth on her. And by double coated, remember those llama, how I pulled those llama hairs out? Same idea with double coated Shetlands. This is extra fiber, and you can see she's a little bit shorter when I pull that out. And these little fibers are a little bit coarser than this fiber. So single coated versus double coated. I kind of love I love this and I love this. Like I said, the double coated can sometimes be quite a bit more coarse, just because it does have those longer, coarser hairs in it. I have basically single coated rams, and breeding them with, oh gosh, it's my happy place. So I thought I'd show you something else because I'm washing up some customer fiber in the back, and holy cow, everyone should be able to enjoy this fiber. And I'll show it next to Andy, and you can really see the difference. So this is Rommeldale CVM. So Rommeldale is a breed of sheep. It is considered a fine wool, and you can see how tight that crimp is. Like I said, I think in another podcast, generally, the tighter the crimp, the finer the wool is. And so, but look at how long. Oh my gosh, this is pretty unusual for this breed. Generally, fine wools tend to be shorter, down to like 3 inches. I think the standard for this is 3 to 6 for this breed. This is like, some of this is when I stretch it. And I should say, when I talk about staple length, because I do see this a lot in the mill, it's not necessarily what it is like this. It's what it is when I stretch it all the way out, which this isn't a great example, but depending on the breed, when you stretch, there can be like an extra inch in there. So the staple length, what I'm looking for at the mill, is when this is pulled taut, what is that to that? How many inches? So look at that, how different that is. Rommeldale CVM, Shetland. And you can even see, and Andy has a beautiful crimp to his, but his crimp compared to hers, hopefully you can see, kind of pull in there, his is much bigger crimp. So I had to share this because it's absolutely stunning fiber. It's not something I see every day for sure. And I believe this came from Colorado, which Colorado is a drier climate. They have snow, but they don't have as much rain. So growing fine wool sheep is a little bit, I shouldn't say easy, but the weather makes it a little easier. Okay, so there's a little bit about their wool. Shetland sheep are smaller. They're on the smaller size of sheep. Ours probably run 100 and 150, which is small, 150 pounds. A lot of sheep can be upwards of 300 pounds. So they are easy for us to handle as far as that goes, depending on their attitude that day. They are hardy. They're considered a heritage breed sheep, meaning that they have been around for a very long time. And one of the reasons that heritage breed sheep have been around for so long is because they tend to be very hardy sheep, meaning they can handle rough climates and do well. So Shetlands just graze on the Shetland Islands. They literally are just grazing all over the island. So and the climate there is really windy, really wet. So here, naturally, they do really wonderful. Their feet do well, their wool does well. So they're a pretty easy keeper of sheep here in the Pacific Northwest, and we do have a fair amount of them here. So they're small. Yeah, that's a little bit about them. The downside of Shetland sheep, I would say they are small, which means if you were going to use them for meat, you're not going to get a ton. They tend to, like my rams took upwards of 2 years to get to their full size, which is not ideal for eating purposes. You can eat them, but you're just not going to get as much off of them. And they don't put out as much wool necessarily because they are smaller, so something else to keep into account. They are very talkative for the most part. I will go to other farms and I'm like, good God, it's so quiet. Shetlands can be pretty noisy, and they also are not great for herding. And by herding, I mean when you're trying to get them into one spot where you want them to go. Shetlands are notorious for, sheep tend to stay together in a flock. So if they're all gonna run, they generally run here. Shetlands are notorious for like here, which is really fun when you're trying to get them to one place and half of them go this way and the other half go this way and one of them's like jumping over the thing. So there are some downsides. There's going to be ups and downs to every sheep. And also if you just want fine soft wool, Shetland may not be your jam depending on what Shetlands you get. So that's a little bit about Shetland sheep, and I'm talking so much about Shetland sheep because I have them, but also because I've been in a Shetland craze in the back, which I think I mentioned in the last podcast. It was llama before, now it's Shetland. So I think I'll stop for a minute and let you guys see my video on what's going on in the mill. I'm gonna let you see one of my videos on what's going on in the mill. Yeah, we'll just do the little tour so you can kind of see all the Shetland in action in the back, and then I will come back and we'll talk a little bit more about Shetland and some of the new stuff I've got out. Yeah, and I think I have one more video for you. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes. Enjoy. Okay, welcome back to what's going on at the mill. This is take 2 because the fire alarm in town went off, small town, so it went off, right? Of course, as I started recording, so hopefully it's okay. Everybody's all right, but here we are again. So I'm in the front of the mill, as you can see, and I am gonna flip you guys around. Yet a prettiest day ever. I shower and wash my hair. I mean, never mind. I won't get into it, guys, but I wash my hair every couple days, and I always try to do it right before I'm filming the actual podcast. So I shower like every day, though. So here is some Shetland that I am working on, and this is our Shetland ewe, Dolly, and this is her yearling fleece. And it is stunning. I'll pull in on it, and I'll probably have shown it in other parts of it, but it's fresh off the carter. And what else am I working on up here? I am packaging up some orders. So this is some Romney alpaca silk that is going to my home state of Maryland, along with some other fiber that a customer ordered, and it is stunning. At some, hopefully in a podcast soon, I will be discussing. You can see that. Oh my gosh. So this is a Romney wool, alpaca, and silk blend. And this is one of our signature yarns and fibers. So that's going out the door, and that's natural white. So we're gonna flip a little bit more, not make you guys dizzy, and head to the back, which, you know, is always somewhat in a state. So what have we got? Remember last podcast I said Shetland? I was not kidding. It was llama, llama, llama. Now it's Shetland, Shetland, Shetland. So here is Dolly on the carter. I'm just getting ready to finish her up. And she is coming up. She's just, I absolutely could not be happier with her fiber. And I'll kind of close in on it. You can see she's got a really pretty white fiber, but then she's got a lot of gray hairs through it. So it's gonna be a very heathered Shetland gray yarn when it's spun up. Stunning. And it is so soft. So there it is coming out, and usually what happens, I broke it, but this usually comes up through here and is attached, and then this little piece goes back and forth and feeds it onto the bump winder there. Bump winder, that's what that's called. Okay, so next stop, more Shetland. So this is some Shetland and alpaca, and I posted this online yesterday. Sorry, get some of my stuff out of the way. And then I put it up for sale, and then it was sold out. So anyway, I'm finishing it up, and I may have 1 or 2 left, but by the time this airs I may not. It'll just be what's online, but I am going to save some of what I'm going to show you next and make sure there's some online when the podcast goes out. But so this is, I think I did 75 Shetland, 25 alpaca, and there's some black alpaca in there, as you can see, if I can get it to focus right. And there's also some fawn alpaca, which you may or may not be able to see right here, and so why I'm running it through the draw frame. We know this is the draw frame if you've watched other ones, mainly because I wanted the fiber to blend more, because I hand picked this fiber and hand blended it other than through the carter. And so you can see it's a little bit chunky in spots, which isn't bad. It'll still make a lovely yarn, but I just wanted it to blend out a little bit better. So it's coming through, and here's how, actually we'll go over here because I have one that is finished. And this is basically the same combo, you can see. It's just a little bit more blended, which I wanted. And the rovings came off in different colors because it's all natural colors, but because I was hand blending it, really whenever you blend it, it's going to be kind of very varied. So this is just giving the roving a little bit more of the same color. Not really, but kind of. It's just blending it better. So behind us, this is what I'll be sure to make sure is I don't put it on the website until the day I put out this podcast, but this is more alpaca Shetland because that other stuff sold much faster than I thought. So this is the same. It's a 75-25 Shetland alpaca. The light fawn or light brown is the alpaca, and the gray kind of white is the Shetland. This is not our Shetland sheep. I've almost done running through their fiber. So this is some other wool from another farm.
So that's gonna go on the carder next. I just did a small batch of it because I wanna see, just make sure it's gonna card up well. You can see it over here waiting at the picker. So there's my bag of Shetland. There's the alpaca I've got out for it. So lovely. I've got some Shetland down here, which I will talk about in the actual podcast. And then I'm not washing today because I was really trying to focus a bit. So I'll just show you what's in the dryer. This is one of my, and we'll have talked about it in the podcast too. I will have talked specifically about this, but this is one of our ewes. This is Taraji, and I purchased her from another breeder, and her fiber, so she is a true double-coated Shetland, which I'll talk about more. You'll probably have already heard about it, or you'll be hearing about it. The colors, I mean, look at those grays and silvers in her fleece, and then there's little pops of black. When it cards up, it's like this stunning kind of bluish silver. And then down here, this is not my Shetland. This is some Shetland that I bought, and I probably will. I most likely am just going to sell this out as a washed fleece. The main reason being I don't think it's going to run through my carder very well. It's pretty tippy. And by tippy, I mean the tips will literally break off, which I can't do with only one hand, but I might talk about it earlier in the podcast. Anyway, so this is a Shetland black, and the tips get a little brown from the sun. So, and sometimes it can make those tips weak. So that may just go up as a washed Shetland fleece for sale. We'll see. And that's it. I'm not washing today because, like I said, I was just trying to focus on getting some of this carded stuff out. And also, it's June, our Shetland pony. It's her horse feet trimming day. Horse hooves get trimmed today, and I need to get home because we need to sedate her before the farrier comes. She's gotten a lot better, but we still sedate her just to make the experience calmer for everybody. So there you go. That's what's going on at the mill today.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. There's a lot of Shetland going on back there. So just to show you some of the finished things that I've worked on. Yarn. So we have I spun up a small batch of white. So this is a natural white, which we do have in stock online. This is a natural heathered gray. So they are pretty high white in the fiber, but there is some gray throughout. And then I dyed some up because y'all love dyed stuff. So this is one of ours. I called this Peaches, and this one's I've had this one for a little while. Next, Almost Tomorrow is what I called this. So this just is gonna have little pops of color throughout as you knit it. I just think it's so fun. It's got blues and kind of salmons and yellows. This, holy cow, is called Moment of Silence. Just stunning. The blue, just stunning. And I was using some new dye techniques, and it's a really solid. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So these are some of the new colors that you can get in our Shetland base yarn, 100% Shetland. I thought I would show you one thing that I've knit quite a bit out of Shetland, including sweaters and mitts and everything. But this is something I knit fairly recently. This is called the dapple hat, and they also have a pattern for it for the mittens. Dapple hat and mittens. Oh my gosh, do you see that hair? Driving me crazy. So, and I will put the information for this. So oh my goodness, there it is. Love this hat. And so I use the peaches and the white. No, sorry, I use the peaches and the heathered gray. And I think it would be so fun if you did something like this, even with the blue as your main color and this kind of as that background color. There's just a lot of fun stuff you could do with it. So that, and I will put the information in show notes. I believe I knit this in the adult large, and it calls for a fingering, and this Shetland is a sport weight, so I would go down a size. And I actually like most of my beanies to be pretty loose because it doesn't mess my hair up. Priorities. the joys of making your own stuff, right? But I probably, you know, because this is one weight higher yarn, I would probably go down a size. So next time I'd probably knit it in the adult small. And as far as needle size, I don't remember, but not that you would, you know, you could also swatch. But for those of us that don't love swatching for a hat seems like an insane idea. So anyway, super fun thing you can do. Shetland is great for just about anything. Hats, mittens. I have quite a few sweaters that I have knit out of Shetland. And luckily, whether if you are a hand spinner, oh my goodness, I forgot my hand spinning stuff. I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, hand spinning stuff. So some new rovings. So if you love any of this stuff and you want to hand spin your own yarn, we have got, so this is some of my sheep, and I always try to put online if it's from our Ewethful sheep. This is natural white, just a little bit that was left of that yarn I showed you that I made into roving. This is another Ewethful. This is less, and I think I put it on the website. This is not as next to skin, but this is two of our ewes, Taraji and Drilla. And Taraji. It's a really stunning fiber when you spin it up. I think I only have one bump of this, so if you love it, grab it up. One of my favorites, this is Dolly. Let me see if I can get up. You can see she's got a lot of gray in her fiber, so it's gonna spin out to that heathered gray. This is her yearling fleece, and by yearling fleece I mean it's the second fleece to come off of her. Their lamb fleece is the first one that comes off at about a year. Their yearling fleece actually comes off of them at about 2 years. So tends to be that as sheep age, you know, the first fleeces that come off of these animals are their best fleeces. So they can get a little bit coarser as they age. So this is, oh my gosh. There's not a ton of it because she's not a huge sheep, but if you can grab some of this, I definitely would, hand spinners. And something else we've got on here, another next to skin, and this is, it looks white, and I don't think I'm gonna be able, but it's a little bit creamy, and it's got just a tinge of like light brown fibers in it. This is not our sheep, but it's definitely next to skin Shetland once you spin it up. So there's some hand spinning things. What else was I gonna show you guys? One last thing, I've got one more video for you, and it's just showing you, I think in the first video I talked about some Shetland Alpaca blend, and this is just a video of it running through the carding machine because I know it's always fun to see the equipment in action. So I'm gonna let you guys see that, and then I'll be right back, and we're just about to wrap it up. All right, see you in a minute. Hi everyone, so I'm in the back doing some Shetland Alpaca blend that is going to roving. So spinners, this is for you. And this was some pretty fine Shetland. It had a little bit of felting on it, basically on parts of it, and it doesn't have the best separation, so it's a little bit pilly in processing, but it still is super soft next to skin for Shetland for sure. And then I added some alpaca to just add alpaca because why not? And I'm gonna flip you guys here, and forgive how I look because it is about 39 and rainy, so amazing weather, and I was out walking the dogs. They didn't even want to be out. So here we have the Shetland is more of our white, and then I've added a little bit of a light fawn and some black alpaca, and I'm actually doing this by hand because the fiber just was getting even more broken and pilled up as I sent it through the carder, or through the picker. So this little batch is a small batch, so I thought I would just finish it out by hand. And so you can see it there, and I'm gonna sneak around to the other side, and I'll turn it on here for a second, but it's hard for you to hear me and see. So here it is coming out, but here's our first batch of it out, and it's gonna spin up so fun and so soft. And you can see there are some little pills in it, but nothing. I mean, if you're a perfectionist, again, maybe this isn't your jam, but I would spin it into kind of a light worsted yarn personally and make a sweater out of it. That might be because that's what I'm doing currently, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the machine so you can just see
what's going on as it comes out. It's always just more fun to see it coming out, right? Okay, so that fiber all sold out. I actually put it up one night and then it was gone the next day. So I was like, uh-oh, let's make some more. So I made some more. So this is a gray Shetland fleece and some light fawn alpaca. Stunning. It is basically going to spin out to be very similar to this, maybe a little bit lighter. It had a little bit more vegetable matter and stuff in it than I wanted. So, and it has a smidge of pilling, and by pilling I mean I can't really see. I need to show you a good example, but it's got some little, if you're a spinner, you know what that is. It still is gonna spin out to be a stunning fiber. There was actually a little pilling in that one that I did for my sweater, and it's just fine. But because there is a little bit more vegetable matter and you're gonna have to pick a little bit more, it's at an amazing price. So jump on there and get this while you can. I do think I'm gonna have a little bit of Andy and some alpaca blend that will be up there hopefully, like I said, this week. And I'm doing one more batch of Shetland, which is all dark wools. It will be Taraji and 2 other darker fleeces, and that'll get spun up into yarn here hopefully within the week, and that'll be up on the site before the next podcast. So is that everything? I think so. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope I gave you enough information. Feel free to message, comment, ask any questions, ask me about things you'd like me to talk about in future podcasts. I love to share the information that I have, and I'm constantly learning, so hopefully I'll constantly have something to talk to you guys about. And I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, please subscribe to the podcast. It just lets YouTube know that you guys are liking what I'm putting out. And like I said, comment, message, find us. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll be here.